Welcome to the Art of Living by Design,
the podcast where consciousness meets action
and intention becomes reality.
We are your hosts,
Leisha Segboer
and Dwayne Tucker.
Welcome to the Art of Living by Design. I'm your host, Leisha Segboer.
And your host, Dwayne Tucker. And today's topic is on mental wellness and healing. It's going to be a very, very insightful and warm, heartfelt topic. And mental wellness it's a topic that people tend to stay away from speaking of. And we want to really get into it today. And what we want to first bring to your awareness is mental wellness is the foundation of everything we do in life. And with that said, whilst you're impacted by your surroundings, the people in it, the things you do, going within and addressing mental wellness is going to be important, and it starts from awareness, as I would have alluded to earlier. Awareness, we've touched on awareness in our previous episodes, and I just want to remind you that awareness is really the first step in improving yourself, in becoming the best version of yourself. And that helps you to know what you're experiencing and why you're experiencing it. And once you're able to uncover that, then everything else will flow much more easily. Now, I want to say that Leisha and I, we're not psychiatrists. We're not any therapists. We're not
psychologists. We're not
psychologists. There
professionals
you go.
where that is concerned.
Yes, exactly. However, there's other alternatives that can complement these disciplines that can help anyone to overcome any mental wellness concerns that they may have.
So we live in a very overstimulated world right now. Everything is fast-paced. There's a rat race. Everything is just now, which, as Dwayne had alluded to earlier, it can be overwhelming. And mental wellness awareness is a lot more in the forefront than it did decades previously. But I think the importance is that we allow for individuals to be able to step away from the noise, the chaos, and take the moment to readjust, rest, self-reflect, being aware that they need additional assistance if that's the need requires it. And a lot of companies now are offering up a few days of mental health days or wellness days, in addition to their sick days as well as their vacation days, as a part of their way of promoting overall well-being for their staff.
One of the questions that we want to help anyone to answer is, what does safety feel like in your body, right? And this is going to be the beginning of you really looking within yourself and understanding what could be triggers, what could be a safe place for you to strive. internally. So what do I mean by that? With awareness, you're able to monitor how you feel, how you think, and how you impact people in the world and even your own life, the outcome of your life. So with that said, um, once you're able to keep on a path that allows you to strive and keeps you from going back to the old version of you as you're on your journey on becoming a better person, the best version of yourself. What does safety feel like in your body, right? And you probably wonder, what exactly do I mean by that? But just to give you some context of this is, as we have alluded to so many times, awareness, being aware what's going on inside, mentally, like what you're thinking about, what are your emotions like, how are you reacting to certain situations or experiences that you're having. So this is what I'm talking about. Um, how do you feel safe? So addressing if there's anything that are triggers for you, and triggers relates to trauma. And if you have had trauma in your life at some point in time, you want to be able to identify that and being aware and not letting your emotions or your feelings, your thoughts slip by without understanding what they mean is going to be helpful for you to get to the state of having um, a safe mindset that allows you to strive, right? So that's going to be a very important one. So what does safety feel like in your body? Being
Inner
able
peace.
to strive. Yes, yes, a settings that allows you to strive from a
Yeah.
mental um perspective.
I think like they're speaking on personal experience where I remember a time in my life when I it was around 2015 and there was this all this financial crisis and the oil and gas companies, just companies in general were just doing massive layoffs. And one of the company, I think it was the first time I've ever been laid off in my life, and the only time, but and after that, I was like, didn't know what to do with myself because so much of myself was tied to um, who who I perceive myself to be with that role. And I sort of shut down a little bit, right? And a friend of mine had come to me and she were having wasn't having conversations. I didn't really want to talk about anybody. And I guess there's some shame and judgment there that goes with that. But there were a lot of people that were experiencing these things. Like every day in the newspaper, there were like thousands of people being let go, right? And I'm not exaggerating the numbers. It was crazy. And I remember a friend of mine, she came to me and she's like, she was talking and she's like, "Are you depressed?" I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Are you depressed?" Because she saw something in me that I didn't even recognize myself. And I said, "No, I'm not depressed." And she's like, "Are you sure?" And and I was really offended. I was like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm not depressed. Um, but looking back, like years after that, I, you know, when I'm embodying, self awareness and self care and being mindful, I look back at that time. And I was like, yeah, that was a dark time because my identity was tied up in the role and who I was meant to be. I think that was in itself was a catalyst because I had time to I think that's when I started doing um, online courses that geared towards self-development and stuff like that, right? So during that time. But in order to, I guess, for me now, I'm very self-aware of my emotions and where they lead, and I question it constantly. It's called, I guess, guarding your thoughts, because I do realize that your thoughts create your reality. Now I do, and for me, I think that um, I now value the time it takes for you to really work on yourself and trying to heal um, to get to the point where you can recognize um, all these triggers within yourself. And when I was working in hospitality and I was, the boss, I'm always mindful of that with the staff, especially the younger generation, the Gen Zs. And even with my own sons as well, right? Is recognizing the signs and being thoughtful and trying to ask thought-provoking questions to sort of start up a dialogue, right? Because sometimes people just want to talk, they need a sounding board. And I do understand that um, if there is more that needs to be done, right? And there is all these, um, I guess now in companies is they try to promote wellness for the staff. They are more um, aware that if there's something really going on, they're more mindful of that. Back in the day, it's like, what something's going on with you, just suck it up. Don't bring your personal life into the workplace. And to some degree, there's still that, but I think right now they realize that people are more productive when they feel safe within a space, and they try to promote that space. And I was lucky enough to have um, bosses who nurture that, right? And that's part of the assessments that the staff do when they assess you as much as we assess them. So that's back in the day when I was managing people. So I had to, apart from my own experience and seeing things within my children and partner, I had to realize that um, not being aware of your emotions and not being able to process them properly, or an inability to process them properly can be like walking a minefield, right? So there are some things that I do um, that sort of reset my nervous system. Um, like one of the things that, and I think, I don't remember if I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I love taking baths. And I sort of dress the bath with all the essentials for me, oils and herbs and flowers, and, have the candles and all of that. Um, because it sort of, and set the mood, because it sort of calms me down and allow me to just focus on self-care and just being in the present moment. Another thing is, I guess, journaling, pouring my thoughts and my energy from the day into a notebook, right? It's sort of very therapeutic. And another one that found that worked for me was um, that, meditation. Sometimes I listen to like sound bath. I have insight timer, and I have calm apps. Or you can find them if you have like Spotify. and certain um, sound bath is like, and certain frequencies of like crystal playing sort of take my mind when I focus on that, take my mind from the moment, allow me to relax. Um, and then in that relaxed mode, I find that I am truly inspired and and I'm able to question the emotion and in questioning emotion. Sometimes the answers come right away, and sometimes it I sleep on it. Sometimes it shows up in unexpected places, like conversation I would have with someone, or even like a morning reading, right? So, it's not being afraid to acknowledge if you are aware that you're going through something and you need the time or you're overwhelmed with everything, but also, not having any judgment or shame around the emotions, right? There are times when I don't want to be on social media, you know, or I'm mindful of. There are times when I'm reading books like um, eh, that are, you know, romantic but dark, and there's a war and there's a big, antagonist and everything. And then there are times when I'm like, heck no, I can't read that, right? Because it's stirring up a lot more emotions in me than it should. So it's understanding that about yourself and giving yourself grace, right? Taking the time. And the stigma around mental wellness, um, I think because of people are becoming more conscious, is not as negative as it once was. Oh, I'm sure there are people who still have their thoughts on it, but I feel like now people are more open, especially definitely the younger generation. They're like, yeah, yeah, I had to take a moment. I had to take the morning because, it's not conducive to the workplace for some things, but they had to take the moment to get in the headspace because it was like they were going through something.
Yeah. And the thing is, unhealed trauma keeps us from striving, and it keeps us in survival mode, right? And block our potential really. And I know this is a topic that people seldomly address, like people seldomly want to talk about, but it's a very important topic because being able to address things that are affecting you, right, is going to help you to appreciate why it's affecting you and to understand how you can have it resolved. And once you have it resolved, then and you're able to put it behind you, then you're going to be in a mode that allows you to strive. And this is where everyone wants to be. Nobody wants to be in survival mode. Nobody wants to be struggling or you know, in a mode of um being falling behind, so to speak. So it's while it's something that we seldomly want to speak on and address, feel open to speak to people who you trust. If that's something that you think you would want to do, or to just spend time to look within. And that's a very good option. Leisha mentioned meditation. Um, that's a way of looking within, getting to know yourself, getting to understand you and what your needs are, what your true needs are. That's
Uh,
special. Right.
so, you brought up a little bit about um, trauma and how it can infect the individual. So sometimes they're stuck in the fight or flight mode, right? Um, and sometimes they don't, it's something that they're not even realizing the impact of something that happened, whether it was days ago or years ago or childhood trauma or that it's now manifesting deeply in your actions, right? And your thoughts. And, um, you know, like if somebody grew up in a household where there is lots of arguments and or if their neighborhood where they hear gunshots or whatever, a loud bang, right, can be created to that moment where you heard gunshots or um, and you just get stuck in the moment with fear, or you go and hide and your mind takes you back to that very moment where you experienced those gunshots or where you heard those shouts and everything. It can make you more sensitive to those moments. um, and I mean, everybody lives their lives and they go through it, and um, hopefully people are learning and growing. But there's some people that are so stuck they can't identify um, the reality versus the memory, right? Because they've never gotten a chance to process it. So it's, I guess, also being going outside your comfort zone and with help if you need it, going outside of your comfort zone and allowing yourself to be in the moment and processing why you're reacting in that moment to that situation. And if it's a situation where you're in a similar environment where there is chaos and cussing and just lots of negativity within your space, then feel free to set your boundaries and remove yourself from that. Um, because I find that, the people you surround yourself with, the space that you present yourself in, can add to that overwhelm and that chaos, right? And if you are talking to a friend and all they can talk about is all the negative thing that's going on in the world and in their life, right? Um, and you're already teetering on the edge because of what you saw in the news or what your friend has been going through, and then they're telling you all of this. This is like energy that is pouring into you. You're already empty cup, and they're trying to pour into you, not the good kind of pouring into. So it's deciding and making the effort to remove yourself from um, the overstimulation of um, within this world. So, social media, even if you just take a break for a day, right? Social media, um, just sending your friend a text message and say, hey, we're just taking a break or whatever, in a nice way. Um, but don't be afraid to draw the line in the sand and say, hey, this is enough. And if you're in a role or position or a job or a relationship that is just not working and is not conducive to your mental wellness, find a way, like gradually find a way to um, sort of getting another a job that better suits you, or talking to the right people, or working that relationship and not being afraid if it's not working to um, walk away, because sometimes that's the best part of healing is knowing when to let go of things.
Yeah. And yeah, this just dealing with mental awareness um, and mental wellness. It's as I mentioned before, it's very sensitive, and people can feel so vulnerable talking about these, just topics like these surrounding them own selves, right? And I just want to say that it's okay. It's okay if you just want to take the time, with someone you trust to just speak, say what you're going through, and that's a way to help you to to move from it. So I give you an example, my own experience. As growing up as a child, I was faced in this was from the primary school level. I didn't ever like to speak in public, and I had to for some small presentation that we had to do, and I found that traumatizing, and I think that has lived with me for a very long time. And I never wanted to really speak about it. And it has impacted me for decades until I'm able to face it to say, hey, this is something that has really been bothering me and realizing where it's coming from. And that it was just that moment that I felt pressured to show up. And at the time, I just wasn't ready. Now, decades after, I had challenges, you know, doing um, presentations, public speaking. But hey, in the working environment that I have been in, I had to do presentations, and it's something that I had to deal with. And eventually, I'm at the stage now where I'm comfortable with speaking out, in public. So it can be a very difficult road to travel down, but it's only going to be better for you if you're able to address it. And as I mentioned, the way to solve it is starting from being aware of what you're experiencing, what you're going through.
Sometimes I believe that our inability to be authentic also um, causes the anxiety and the stress um, and
Exactly.
within our life. And
Yeah.
I find that, like I've had clients that when we delve deeper into things that have been said and done in the past that impacts them now, it's sometimes the expectations, right? Um, I mean, we're from the Caribbean, right? And I guess, I mean, even in the African culture and the Asian cultures, the expectation is that you need to go to university, you need to um, have the career, but the career has to be one of these. So you're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer, or a politician, right? So, you know, very high stress positions. And let's face it, not everybody have the the know-how or the capacity to be in those roles. And sometimes they are in those roles because, yeah, they made it, but it's the worst kind of role for them. It's not conducive to their mental health because a lot of times it's high stress, but also it just doesn't make them happy. They did that because it's expectation of family member that this is where they needed to be in order to be happy because your parents sometimes live vicariously through you. So it's making conscious choices to ensure that the things we do in life has to be meaningful to us. I mean, without being selfish, but meaningful to us. It has to be impactful. It has to be your purpose. And it's okay if you don't figure it out and have it all together, but understand that you're still worthy. Even if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a high paying job, or you don't yet own your home, all those things can cause stress. You don't have, you know, hundreds of $1,000s in your bank account, and all of that can be, you know, a cause of stress, and you're not living authentically because you feel like you need to be in this role in order to be worthy of the love, worthy of your parents' adoration, or not just your parents, but your partners, your friends. So I find when you can let all of that go and go, um, they're gonna either like me or they're not. And trust me, that takes a lot of work, right? Because naturally we want validation and whatever, right? But letting those things go and making sure that you work on your inner self and your truth and your happiness, um, it brings you this sense of peace that allows you to authentically be yourself and be okay with it, right? So yeah, so hey, sometimes some of the trauma and the drama are not even ours to carry. It doesn't belong to us, but we embody it because we feel that that's the way to go.
Yeah. And yeah, very important points. Very important points. So I want to ask this question now. What was the last time your mind felt at peace? And this is for everyone out there to really zone in and think about this question. What was the last time your mind felt at peace?
This morning.
Yeah, yeah,
um, but it's something that I do consciously. Because as I said before, I guard my thoughts. Um, and normally I find that I try to, just before I go to bed and immediately after I wake, um, set the tone for the day and the intention. And if something comes up that is not conducive to that, I don't push it away, but I think about it, I process it, and note, is it something that I need to address right away, or something that I can address later, or is it a lesson that I immediately need to learn from it all, right?
yeah,
But this morning, in the morning, I when it's quiet, and I can do my meditation and self reflect and try to visualize a life or create the life that I envision for myself and my loved ones. That brings me peace, right? Um, when I sit, like, sometimes I'm talking to um, my mom and dad, and the insight they have to offer, because now I've let go of the expectations. So now I am comfortable in who I am, because I know that, and as my dad would say, I've got your back. Whatever you're going for, that I'll be right there for you, cheering you on. Which is very meaningful for me because, as I said, I sometimes you need your peace enough that you need to walk away from certain things. So me, I'm starting a business. I had started a business and stepped away from something I was doing for decades. A um, the comfort of having that, the safety net, stepping away and starting fresh, um, and not listening to naysayers, and just truly doing me. Right. So peace in that.
yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. And this is a question that everyone should look at answering. And if you are unable to answer this question, then it means that you need to take the time to look within and to understand, you know, what are what is it that is affecting you from having feel that way. You know, it's going to be life-changing once you're able to identify, what's keeping you in survival mode and to transition from that feeling into having or truly living, and when you're truly living is when you're able to answer that question and to say, yeah, listen, um, frequently feeling at peace.
Yeah. I think I sent out because we're doing a 28-day mind, body, spirit habit state challenge. And I think one of the posts that I sent was, being mindful of your energy and protecting that energy. Um, and what that means is, um, again, the self awareness, but knowing when, I mean, sometimes you walk into a room and there'll be somebody that will walk up to you. And the minute they walk up to you, like your spirit, as we say in the Caribbean, is like, your spirit feel cross, right? Your spirit is like, uh-uh. And you might not, it might not be a long conversation, it might not be negative conversation, but something about the person's energy doesn't align with yours. And it's understanding that too. And in every walk of life, doing every daily interaction of how to protect yourself. And we do things like you can do an energetic barrier around, imagine like an energetic barrier that's like a sphere that you're within as you go out into your day to protect your energy spiritually. Because sometimes you have no control over the people that you have to interact with. So you're in customer service and you're going to have to deal with people that are in a great mood and are excited to be there or to deal with you. And then there's people who are not going to be in the best of moods. And unfortunately, you're their outlet, right? So, but when you walk away, when you take your breaks, when you return home, intentionally think of way to um, unwind and sort of, I guess the word probably detox from that energy. So I always say to my boys at night, always make sure you shower. Because showering has a way, because you're washing off the day. In the Caribbean, we always say, go wash off the day. And we took it for granted. But now I see those words as um, you're ending that chapter of the day and you're starting with embodying a peaceful transition into your evening or your morning, whatever your shift or your days you work or the weekend. It's letting go, like process and let go so that you have some peace in the moments that matters. Okay. A lot of people carry their work home with them. Sometimes they can't help it. You have a cell phone, so people think you're accessible 24/7, especially when you're in certain positions. Carve out certain times for yourself that is uninterrupted. Schedule it on the calendar if you need be, right? Set your phone on silent for that period of time. And it could be something where you're preparing your favorite meal. People probably you're watching your favorite program. Um, or you just want to sit in stillness and just and just not having to deal with the outside world or interruptions or distractions. So protect your energy because sometimes the energy that's impacting you is not even your own, right? Somebody rub off on you and they change your day negatively. So be mindful of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that you referenced the 28-day challenge. That's an amazing experience. It's always an amazing
I'm
experience.
glad you're enjoying it.
Yes. So humans are creatures of habit, right? And we might not recognize it, but most of what we're doing on a daily basis are based on habits. We get up in the morning, likely on the same side of the bed. We go to the bathroom and do the same thing every day. Go to work, if we're working or school or whatever the case may be. And then we return home and then we do the same thing at home and then we go to bed. So the question is now, what are the habits that you have and how has it been impacting your life? So when you're able to unravel that, and likely you'll be able to identify habits that you'd like to change. And in changing those habits, it will take time, but with the right mindset, you're going to be able to overcome it. And once you overcome these habits and take on new healthy habits, then you're already living a better life.
Agree.
And that's a way to also move from survival to thriving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this this in itself this in itself helps us to be a better person, and it shows up in every aspect of our life, whether it is in our family life or in our work life, business, whatever it may be, any aspect of our social life, it's gonna have impact. And and this is where you start to impact other people as well, when you're able to you know, in Jamaica they say rub off on people, rub off your good habits on people, you know what I mean? So yes.
True.
Yeah, yeah. So you have to be thinking now of what patterns you want to keep, um, for your your nervous system to be able to be in striving mode rather than survival mode. Question for you, Leash.
Mm-hmm.
How do you practice self-compassion?
Self-compassion is not judging myself and giving myself grace in moments where I feel like I'm not doing enough, or um, that, you know, there's an expectation of more. And all right, I'll give you an example. Okay. So we are doing 28 days Mind, Body, Spirit Habits Challenge. And maybe I took on 5 habits. There's 3 to 5 habits that you do daily, or however you contracted to do. You curate, because you curate your own um, habits, right? So sometimes, like, I mean, like yesterday evening, I remember I would do my evening yoga, and it was hot and I was depleted. And I'm like, but I just need to do this. And I started it and I felt like I was forcing myself when I just really wanted to be still and just be mindful and just relax in the moment. I didn't have on any screens or anything. I just felt like I just needed that moment to just be without pushing through, right? And I chose to just stop in the middle of it, right? I wasn't really feeling it, but I feel like, I was only doing it because I know it's a habit and I wanted to push that through. And I was like, in this moment, my body didn't need to be stretched or anything. It just wanted stillness. And I turned on some instrumental music, and I just decided I was going to end my evening, and I did my evening rituals and everything, and then just relax and listen to the music, and time set it so that within an hour if I'm fast asleep, that it ends on its own. But that is self-compassion. um, is knowing when to say no, um, and a resounding yes to something else, right? And not doing it because it's the expectation or the betterment. Yeah, there are times when um, it's good to do what you need to do. I'm not saying give up on everything and don't strive for anything. That's not it. But knowing in the moments when you need to walk away from that task, maybe coming to it later and doing something fun or more aligned in with you in that moment.
I would add to that. You mentioned it earlier, giving yourself grace. Not all the time along our journey, we're going to be doing, exactly what we have imagined, right? And sometimes things might come up that we'll have to deal with, and we do it to the best of our ability, whatever it is. And we have to realize that it's okay to not be person that we envision being. Because I'm sure once you eventually get there, you still have to give yourself grace, be thankful, show yourself love, be grateful for where you are and how you have progressed along the journey.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And the whole being perfect, um, it's not necessarily something that you need to strive for because we're human and we're perfectly imperfect. Um,
Yes.
and knowing that, you know, there are times when um, it's okay that there's flaws in it within us, as long as we know what they are and that we're working on it, right? So if and another thing which is very important is that try not to compare your journey or yourself with somebody else, right? Because we all walk our own path. And
That's an important
I
point.
find that, when you start comparing yourself, whether it's to your siblings, your spouse, your friends, your coworkers, it's a slippery slope. And I find that with insecurities comes this, I don't know, like, or bid to be. I remember when I'm being the most competitive, and I would say, it was a natural default to be competitive because I'm trying to prove something to someone else beside myself that I can do it, I'm capable, I'm worthy of it. Um, so there's nothing wrong with competition if it's a healthy competition, right? Because let's face it, we're cheering on the soccer team and our Jamaican track team, and they work very hard for it, or the basketball, whatever it is. Yes, some people, their life is their career is all about competing. Um, but realize that yes, you're striving to be better, but you know, you don't need to jeopardize your mental health while doing it. And I'll give you an example. Simone Biles, I think it was one of the major competition. And this is a multi medalist, gold and silver, including Olympic medals, for gymnastics. And I remember she withdrew from a major competition that she was, and her thing was, she has to take care of her mental health. And there were a lot of people like, "Are you kidding me? You worked so hard to get this far, and you're pulling out now." But she recognized that she needed to step aside and take care of herself, because if you don't take care of yourself, who is going to take care of it for you? Right? Take care of yourself for you. Right? So not everybody is lucky enough to have um, maybe parents or a support system that love them regardless of who they are or what they're doing or what they've accomplished. So you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first and foremost. And that might mean stepping aside or walking away. And it's knowing when to do so and when to know it's just a paradigm and you need to push through that paradigm in order to get to the next level of your success. So it's a learning curve. Know the difference.
Yeah. 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 That's that's a very, 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 very great point you've made. And it brings me to this other question of what does healing looks like for you? And it segues as well from the point like you're making from relating to Simone Biles. Healing is something that it's about us, you as an individual. So
Yes.
it has nothing to do with the outside world. It's just you internally and recognizing what your needs are and being aware of what your needs are, right? So taking the time out to heal is imperative,
It is.
absolutely imperative.
It really is. So, if you are going through something and you do not know how to process, I will say this. Like Dwayne had mentioned, we're not mental health professionals. We can only share our own experiences. So don't be afraid or ashamed of seeking the assistance that you need to heal. Because what we're mentioning is it's complementary to other modes of healing and professions of healing, I find that sometimes we need the additional support, right?
Yeah.
And it's all good and in terms of being said and done when we're working on our own wellness because it really starts with us, right? It really starts with us. Um, and I find that I've had clients who they do have a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and they're have been given medication that helps support their moods, um, and but they also use my methods, or they also complement it with a holistic approach, right? And that may not be you, right? So I'm just saying that there are several options. Just know what options work best for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way of ending today's session.
Yes. So thank you all for joining us today, and we want to say have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone. Look forward to
Thank
seeing
you.
you in episode 4. If today's conversation inspired you,
Challenge your perspective, or encourage you to see new possibilities for your life,
we'd love for you to share this episode with someone who may benefit from it.
remember, a meaningful life doesn't happen by accident
It is created through awareness, intention,
and conscious choice.